Hello, everybody, and welcome to Andy Makes a Friend, Dungeon Crawl Classics. And also, if you're watching live on Twitch, there'll be an episode after this. I'm going to break it up, and I'll explain at the end. Hi, so I'd like to talk about a role-playing game that's been around for a little bit called Dungeon Crawl Classics Role-Playing Game, DCC RPG. Not to be confused with the Adventure Line Dungeon Crawl Classics, which are adventures now published for the Dungeon Crawl Classics role-playing game, but they used to be Dungeons and Dragons adventures. Hello, Liz and Cece in chat. So this game is a couple years old, but I had heard about it before, and they did a bundle of holding not too long ago, earlier November and October, and I decided to pick it up, and I was scrolling through it, and I really liked it, so I went a little crazy and bought a bunch of stuff from the Goodman Games store, partially because I got a coupon from the Humble Bundle. Oh, am I randomly spiking in volume? Because that's what it looks like I'm doing on my... The mic sounds good? Okay, because it looked like a second ago I was spiking, and I didn't think I was talking particularly loud. Hold on a second. If I do... Does that do anything? No? Okay. Thank you, Soup. Yeah, let me know if it sounds weird, but hopefully it doesn't. I got a coupon code in the Humble Bundle, and then there was a crazy good Cyber Monday, Black Friday sale. Yeah, see, it just randomly is going red, and I don't think I'm being particularly loud. Huh. Sorry, okay. I noticed in the Odyssey of the Dragon Lords episode that we just released that it sounded like my volume would randomly kind of spike. And it sounds fine. Okay. I believe it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some words I say are just louder than others. I don't know. But it would randomly spike on when I was listening back to it. And I mentioned that to Cece, and she said that it's possible... Okay, I don't know. Yeah, it's possible that it was from Zoom, because we used Zoom instead of Discord. So maybe it was the way Zoom kind of handles. It kind of auto mutes you when you're not talking, and then it turns your mic back on. So maybe that was interacting with my microphone even through OBS. I don't know. But I've never had that problem before, and this is a brand new microphone, so if it's not working, I would like to return it and get a replacement. But yeah, if it sounds okay, then I can't imagine it's going to record funny, because you should be getting the same audio quality that is being recorded. It's just being streamed to you. Anyway, let me start over. That was a bunch of nothing. That's a bunch of stuff for if you Googled Dungeon Crawl Classics or you searched it on YouTube. Like, I don't care about this dude's microphone. I'm sorry, and you don't. But it's important to me. So anyway, they had a crazy good Cyber Monday deal, all that jazz. So I bought a bunch of books. You can see I got some of them back there. I have a pile of them here. I'll be talking about some of the other books I got later as well in the holiday thing. So you can see on the screen I have the PDF of Dungeon Crawl Classics. Let me show you the physical book. Look at that. It's a little big. I got the soft cover. I got it for my birthday. Now, the crazy thing about this is it's $25. This soft cover is $25. Hardcover is a little more expensive. I don't think it's more than $50. Mutant Crawl Classics is only $40. It's a little less big a book, but yeah, it's a $25, and this is it's a $25 core rule book, and this is the only book you need. You don't need a monster manual. You don't need a dungeon master's guide. This has adventures in it. So the things that this book contains. And it comes with a free PDF on DriveThruRPG, or if you buy it from their store, then you can just download the PDF. But it's always nice to have it through DriveThruRPG, because then you have it in the DriveThruRPG library. Yeah. Thank you, Liz, for saying everything sounds good. CC says that book's thick with like 5 C's. And Marty said that's enough book to kill someone with for the low price of $25. You could do some damage. This book does a D6 at least. I mean, sorry. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. Krista just asked if I was okay because of that terrible noise. So let's see. So the book is divided into 9 chapters, and then several appendices. And hello, Marty. Sorry, I don't think I actually said hello. Chapter 1 is characters. Chapter 2, skills. Chapter 3, equipment. Chapter 2, skills is 4 pages, though. So, I mean, chapter 4 is combat. 5, magic. 6, 7, and 8 are the DM sections. That's quests and journeys, judges' rules, magic items, and 9. Chapter 9 is monsters. And then adventures. And the appendixes are curses, language, inspirational reading, which is the classic appendix N. And then a couple other things. So, the back cover, let me read that to you as well. You're no hero. You're an adventurer, a reaver, a cutpurse, a heathen slayer, a tight-lipped warlock guarding long-dead secrets. You seek gold and glory, winning it with sword and spell, caked in the blood and filth of the weak, the dark, the demons, and the vanquished. There are treasures to be won deep underneath, and you shall have them. DCC RPG is a complete role-playing game of 1970s Appendix N fantasy. And then this is one of the kind of signature characters. This very 70s looking dude with a big mustache and kind of 70s pants. So, this game is not for every situation. It is clearly a dungeon crawl game. It is right there. You are fighting monsters. I mean, you could certainly roleplay in it. Like, nothing is stopping you from doing that. But it is more classic dungeon adventure focused than, say, modern role playing game, modern Dungeons and Dragons even. The art is very old school, very 70s, and I like that kind of thing, but that may not be what is for you. But yeah, and some of the art is straight up goofy. There's so much art in this book. Some of the art's a little goofier. This guy's kind of goofy looking. I like it. I think it's fun. Bunch of stuff dedicated to Jim Rosloff. Okay, I don't want to show like a crap ton of the contents because, obviously you should, if you're interested, you should pick up the book. It's not that expensive, and the PDF I'm sure is even cheaper. The other thing you can do, if you are interested, is you can pick up Quick Start rules. I have 2 different versions of the Quick Start rules, but I think I only have one over here with me because I like the pterodactyl cover. The Quick Start rules are $5 on their website. The PDF's free. And you can see how much thinner the quick start rules are, which shows you how much rules content is actually in that book. Most of that book is spells, honestly, because of the way spells work, and I'll talk about them in a second. That's the rules. It's not crazy. It's if you've played Dungeons and Dragons before, you'll pick it up. It's a D20 system that uses other dice in addition, and uses more dice than even just the classic Dungeons and Dragons set, which is 7 dice: D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20, D100. So 7, yeah. I think. I hope I didn't miss any. But this uses 14 dice. It uses a D3, a D4, a D5, a D6, a D7, D8, D10 percentile, D12, 14, 16, 20, 24, and 30. You can buy them from DCC, Goodman Games, in this cool little tube. I'll show you the dice. And if you buy them from Goodman Games, it comes with this little insert. All the different dice colors have different monsters associated with them. It's got a little monster sheet. Little background, stats. Now, I mean, this set is not cheap, I would say. It was a $30 set. I got it on sale. So, it's not like you can go and get a $10 set of D&D dice. You do have to buy... It is a little more expensive if you get it from Goodman Games. I have 2 sets of DCC dice now. I bought my first set off of Amazon, and I think it was closer to $16, which for 14 dice is, that's perfectly a reasonable price in my opinion. But here's the 30. Here's a D30. It's a nice hefty blue and gold dice. And let me show you my green dice. D30. And actually, I have pictured here. You can see them on the screen. So one of the mechanics this game uses is called the dice chain. And let me also say, this will not be a comprehensive overview of the rules. If you want that, I'm sure there's a better video for you somewhere on YouTube. There are podcasts, Spellburn for Dungeon Crawl Classics, Glowburn. We'll probably have more information than this. This is kind of just like what I think is neat, kind of my first glance at the system. I'm not done reading the core rulebook. I'm somewhere in the spells, and I'm just kind of skimming them. Because the spells, as I'll talk about in a minute, are... there's a lot of them. So this is not going to be comprehensive. I hope this is helpful if you're interested, you're learning more about it. But yeah, so anyway, these are the dice. Yeah, these are some weird looking dice. First of all, there's the infamous D3. D4, which is a weird looking D4 in my opinion. It is not a caltrip. It's rounded edge. D5, 6, 7. A bunch of normal dice. And then, D14, 16, they just look like big D12s. And same with 24 and 30. They just look like big D20s. So the way this works is, for the most part, if you're doing something your class is good in, you're rolling a D20. If you're a fighter and you're making your weapon attack, you're rolling a D20. If you're a wizard making a spell attack, you're rolling a D20. Now, if something makes that more difficult or easier, you could possibly go up and down the dice chain. So, if you, in 5e, it would be something like advantage. You could go up to a D24. Then you have a much better chance of succeeding, obviously, because you're you could go all the way up to 24 plus all the stuff you add to it, which is especially helpful for spells, because spells, if you can hit like 30 on your check, they basically crit, and something crazy happens. Alternatively, if you're not as good at something, you go down to a 16. Fighters, for instance, at like somewhere in the mid-tier levels, they get a second action that they can use to make a weapon attack, but it uses a D16 for a while. Eventually, it goes up to a D20, and then I think at the end, they can make like 2 weapon attacks at D20, and then one's a D14. So 2 of them are much more likely to hit than the last one, and that's kind of how it works. 2-weapon fighting is similar. I think halflings are good at 2-weapon fighting. You make like D16 attacks, and that might mean you can't crit depending on the rules, because you can't roll a natural 20, but it also means you're getting more actions. So that's how the dice chain kind of works, to my understanding at least. So otherwise it's basic. It is if you've played Dungeons and Dragons before, this will not be unfamiliar to you. There is a cool section here. I just love some of this art. Is that Arrow Lotus? No. There's a lot of Arrow Lotus art in here. But you see, like, the dragon's even casting fire from its hand. Like, it's like, I just like it. Core mechanic. Rolling a d20. Roll high, beat difficulty classes. A roll of 1 is an automatic miss. And this game has fumbles, and fumbles for days. And a 20 is an automatic hit. And it's got crit tables for days. So, this is nice. This tells you, and this game was published before 5th edition. And actually, it's kind of funny. I don't know how many people remember D&D Next's playtest. There's a lot of stuff from D&D Next that is kind of, in my opinion, cribbed from Dungeon Crawl Classics, because I'm pretty sure this game came out before D&D Next did, before 5th edition was... Oh, it definitely came out before 5th edition, but I think it might have been a parallel to D&D Next. But this game has, like... because in D&D Next and in this, fighters add something called a Mighty Deed die. So you roll your d20, then you roll a die that progressively gets bigger, and that's added to your attack roll, and if you get high enough on it, you can do a Mighty Deed. And that might be disarming your opponent, it might be scaring them, taunting them. You can be really creative with it, and the game gives you a couple examples, but then otherwise you talk to your judge, which is what this game calls Dungeon Masters or Game Masters. You just kind of pitch something to your judge, and if they say yeah, if you roll high enough on your deed die, you do it. I'm gonna click something. Let me see. Is that... No, it didn't work. Sorry, Marty, that didn't work. So let's see. So this game tells you right here, which I love. It tells you how it's different than, say, 3rd edition or 3.5 of Dungeons & Dragons, AD&D, and then what edition you've played before. So the other major difference it has from earlier editions of Dungeons & Dragons, 5th edition doesn't have this issue, I guess. It's not true Vancian magic. I also blame chat. I figured it was a mighty need, but sorry the link didn't work. I don't know how to post GIFs in Twitch. I don't know if you can. What was I saying? Oh, it's not real Vancian magic, because you can keep you know spells, and you can keep casting them until the spell says you can't anymore. So if you roll low enough, you'll lose the spell for the day. But otherwise, I've played once before. I played in a demo. It was great. Run through the Goodman Games website. It was super fun. Highly recommend it if you're interested in it. They do it every Tuesday. I played an elf, which I'll talk about in a second. And I just cast Flaming Hands all day. And I kept rolling real good with it, so I never lost it. And I never really missed with it even. So I just kept casting it. I didn't have to worry about how many times have I repaired it, how many spell slots do I have. You don't really have to worry about that, I don't think. No, I don't think. Yeah, I don't. There aren't spells. You just keep casting spells until you can't anymore. I mean, bad things will happen if you keep casting spells and you're not good at it. There are some rules for that, but yeah, let me check something real fast. Because now I'm doubting myself, but I mean the thing that you're pushing your luck basically, because I'll get into it. Bad things can happen if you cast spells and you're unprepared for it. Let's see. Let's check Wizard first. No, Wizard would be after Warrior. Oh, thank you for stopping by. See you later, Liz. My cat is not happy outside, and I don't know why, because Krista's off her call for work, so... Yeah, I'm pretty sure you don't have... I don't know why I'm looking. I'm pretty sure you don't have, like, a specific number of spell slots. As long as you can cast the spell, you can cast it. Okay. So we'll talk about magic again in a couple minutes. Let's talk about character creation. So, in Dungeon Crawl Classics, you create characters, and you can create 0-level characters. You know what? Let me use the quick start rules, because these are free, so I don't really feel as bad showing these off. So when you create a 0-level character, you have to do a couple things. Crap. Sorry, I hate when I scroll really fast, because I'm sure that's slightly disorienting. Okay, here we go. Character creation. You roll up a 0-level character. You determine ability scores, 3d6 in order. The ability modifiers. And the ability scores in this game are strength, agility, stamina, intelligence, personality, and luck. Strength, agility, and stamina, intelligence, those roughly equate to their respective D&D stats. Agility and stamina instead of dex and con. Intelligence. Personality is kind of charisma and wisdom rolled together. And then luck is luck, how lucky you are. And you can burn luck points. And occasionally you have to make a luck check, which is the only one you want to roll low on. You want to roll under your luck. And your luck score can affect certain things. You can roll on a luck table. And like your lucky sign, here it is. This was your birth augur, so you roll a d30. So let's say we roll a 23. You add your luck score to your armor class. You're from a charmed house. That was your birth augur. These may be helpful. They may not be for your character. You might get Birth Augur, Seventh Son, spell checks, and you may not be paying a spellcaster. Okay. So so anyway. So yeah. So strength, agility, stamina, intelligence, personality, luck. Luck is the only thing that's really different than other role playing games, than other D&D games, Dungeons and Dragons inspired games, and it comes up in random ways. It's your luck, and it can be negative, so you can have bad luck. Determine hit points. 1d4. You're a 0 level character. The other thing about 0 level characters, when you are playing 0 level adventures, you bring at least 3. You bring 3 0 level characters. Whoever survives is your first level character. And I have heard of, in certain examples, certain players have 2 third level characters. Because enough characters survived, and it's deadly enough at low levels still, that one of them might die. So they just kept playing the characters. I don't think I could do that. I would get too involved in one of them. I could do it at 0 level, because you're nobody yet. Okay. The lucky sign, that thing I was just talking about. Determine your 0 level occupation. Roll a d100. We'll talk about that in a second. Choose an alignment. There are only 3 alignments in this game. Neutral, lawful, and chaotic. Or I think it's neutral, order, and chaos. And yeah, you are picking a side in a in a cosmic conflict. Chaos versus order, neutrality. And the example, neutral players favor balance. It's kind of classic druids. It's you believe that either the universe is always meant to be in conflict, kind of. There needs to be a balance between chaos and order. Too much of one is bad. They balance each other out, kind of thing. And then chaos and order are kind of self-explanatory. But, because there's no evil and good associated with it, chaos can represent good things and bad things as well. It is typically associated with demons and such, but that doesn't mean elves are also chaotic and stuff like that. We'll take a look at the table in a second. You get some starting equipment, and if you reach 10 experience points, you advance to first level and you get a class. So here is your occupation. You roll a d100, you get a weapon and some goods. So you might be an alchemist, you might be a dock worker, a ditch digger. And then you can see there are some dwarven occupations, elven occupations, halfling occupations. So in the game, there are only a few classes. There in the core game, I've got some books that introduce more classes. In the core game, there's just warrior, wizard, thief, and then halfling, elf, and dwarf. It is a game that race is class. I think you could very easily write that out. But the dwarf is basically a different kind of fighter. The elf is basically a different kind of wizard. And the halfling is basically a different kind of thief. They all have different stuff going on for them. The elf is more a sword mage. I would just call that a sword mage if you wanted to play a non-elf elf. Halfling, I would probably call it burglar or something like that. Or rogue if you want to. And then dwarf, I guess barbarian or fighter, since the fighter is called a warrior. So if you get one of the dwarven jobs, you have to pick dwarf, elven, elf. Again, I don't think that's necessary. And because there's no this avoided. I mean, part of it, I like it and I hate it, like at the same time, because part of it's just like, well, there isn't that weird racial stat adjustment kind of thing that you have to worry about. Elves just get infravision. And, if you wanted to play a fighter or a warrior who was an elf, like, just give them infravision. Who cares? Like, it's, is it really that different? Is it really that much of a benefit? And then, maybe if they're a human, they get, like, one extra skill or weapon or something like that. I feel like I'm all over the place, but that's okay. I hope that made sense. But so yeah, there are 6 classes in the core game. I got 2 little zines. There's this one and another one that added more classes. This added a look. Let me look. This added a bard, a gnome, a paladin, and a ranger. And then this one added a dwarven cleric, an elven rogue, a halfling burglar, which is a revised halfling, basically, a halfling champion, and then half levels and stuff like that. And then other books add more classes or races. And again, I think for the most part, especially with dwarf, halfling, and elf, if you take like 2 things off of their class section and add it to any of the other classes, I really think it would probably be fine. Like, first of all, balance is not a big concern in this game because it's just not. But so yeah. But I love this table. This is fun. You could use this in Dungeons and Dragons. If you wanted kind of an expanded or inspiration for your background, you roll it and then you find, okay, I was a spy, but maybe I was an entertainer, but I was specifically a jester, or I was an outlander, but I was specifically an outlaw or a trapper, that kind of thing. Okay. And then this is what you need to level up. Okay, there's alignment, weapon training, trade goods, funnel. I love this art. Skeleton's like, no. Piercing weapons don't work on skeletons. Okay. So, character classes. Cleric. Okay. So clerics are clerics. They worship a god, and they heal people and can cast support magic and some other things. So let's see. They get a D8 hit points. Look, you don't get a lot of hit points in this game. It is deadly. You pick a god. There's a little chart in the game, in the main rules about it. Let me read some of the god choices. And obviously, you just make one up if you want. Let's see. So some of the examples for law. It is law. Okay. Daenthar, the Mountain Lord, greater god of earth and industry. Gorhan, the Helmed Vengeance, god of valor and chivalry. Justica, goddess of justice and mercy. Aristimus, the insightful one, goddess of true seeing and strategy. I think you can see where some of these inspirations are coming from. Neutral, Amontor, god of mysteries. Ildevar, goddess of magic. Cthulhu's in this game. Chaos, Erhermon, god of death and disease. Bowbug Buggles, demon lord of evil amphibians, and so on. I'm not going to read all of them. There's a couple more in here. And you get certain weapons are associated with them and certain unholy creatures. Yeah, look, they aren't... This game is not meant to... I think so much in this book is meant to clearly inspire you, not to be taken as 100%. Like the king of Elfland, the king of the elves is the king of Elfland. And I'm like, Elfland is no, I would call it fairy or I would just call it the Feywild probably or fairy. But yeah, the Sealy, like, I'm not going to call it Elfland. And if you do, I mean, that's fine. I don't care. So anyway, so that you get trained in your weapons. Clerics may wear any armor, and their spell checks are not hindered by its use, which is a big deal. Because if you are a wizard or an elf, if you use like plate mail, you're taking massive penalties to your spell checks. Really armored, but you get like -8 to spell checks, and that's not good. Because anything below a 12 is bad. Okay, magic. A cleric can call upon the favor of his god. This form of magic is known as idle magic. Its successful use allows a cleric to channel his god's power as a magical spell. Cleric has access to the spell of his gods. That is noted on table 1.5. That's, of course, not in here. Is it? No. I guess that must be in the rulebook. To cast a spell, a cleric must make a spell check. The spell check is 1d20 plus personality plus caster level. And your caster level is just your cleric level. If the cleric succeeds, his god attends his request, not always predictably, but with positive results. Now, a natural 1 means disapproval. On a natural 1 during a spell check, a cleric discovers that he has somehow gained the disapproval of his deity. The spell check automatically fails, and the cleric must roll on table 5-7, which is on page 27. So you roll on this table. And if you get... if you get any of these... So, for instance, the cleric must atone for their sins. They must do nothing but utter chants and intonations for 10 minutes, starting as soon as they are able. For example, if they're in combat, they can wait until the danger is over. Or an hour in combat, you get penalties. So rolling 1s are bad. Oops. Okay. And then every time you fail a spell check, if you just fail it, your disapproval rating goes up. So it'll go from 1 to a natural 1 or 2. Natural 1 through 3. Natural 1 through 4. So yeah, that's not good. You don't want to keep failing spell checks. And then a cleric may make sacrifices to their deity to regain favor. And then there's rules for that. So you're sacrificing goods and such. A great deed or service can also count. Turn unholy. It's not just undead. It's things that your god would consider unholy. So that might be undead, demons, devils, might be angels. It's not always unholy. It's not always undead. It's unholy, which I do like as a kind of twist. Yeah, what certain gods aren't going to care about undead. I mean, most of them are, but Okay. You don't cast spells to heal things. You have lay on hands, much like paladins do in 5th edition. Clerics heal the faithful. By making a spell check, a cleric may lay on hands to heal damage to any living creature. You can't heal undead, constructs, extraplanar creatures, or animated objects. The cleric must physically touch the wounds of the faithful and concentrate for 1 action, which is 10 seconds. And then a turn is 10 minutes. Your DM will, your judge will have a list of things your god finds unholy. It's in this book. I can And you will as well. It is on your character section of here. It's just not in the quick start rules. But for instance, chaotic clerics find angels, paladins, lawful dragons, and law-aligned humanoids unholy. Lawful gods might find undead, demons, devils, monsters such as basilisk or Medusa, and chaotic dragons unholy. And then neutral, mundane animals, weird. Perversions of nature, like slimes. Okay. So for lay on hands, you have to touch them. You roll 1d20 plus personality modifier plus caster level. Failure increases disapproval, just like this. So it is like casting a spell, it's just not a spell. Healing via lay on hands is always accomplished in terms of the subject's own hit dice. So that is different than, for instance, 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, where healing word is always healing d4s. Cure wounds is always healing d8s, I think, d6s, I can't remember. This is, you're healing another cleric, then d8s. They heal d8s. And then there's also this table for alignment. How much you heal is based on alignment. So if they're the same alignment of you, you heal the most. If they're one off, you heal the second most. So if you're neutral, you heal to law or chaos either way. But if you're law, you heal neutral here. And then opposed, you heal the least. The justification being, your god doesn't want you helping those people. They're your enemy. I think you could probably get away with this if you didn't want to and just use the adjacent rules. But yeah, so if you got a 12 to 13 on the check, you would heal 2 dice or 1 die or 1 die, and so on. So that's clerics, and then they get spells. That's basically that. So the other thing about this system is, at first level, you can basically do everything you're going to do in the game. You're just not good at all. You're just not great at all of it. You're not always going to succeed. But first level thieves can do the same thing 10th level thieves can do. They're just not going to be as proficient at it. And there are only 10 levels in this game. Okay, so thieves are D6 hit dice. They get thiefy weapons. And certain weapons, like daggers, do more backstab damage. Alignment, thieves can't. You can, but thieves can't. And then thieves have thieves use the luck mechanic a lot. So they don't get static luck bonuses, they get dice to their luck pool. They get luck die. So you can spend your luck points. So if you, let's say you, at the very beginning of the game, you roll 3d6 and you get 12. And that's your luck score. As you're going throughout the game, if you want to add to checks, you're like, ooh, that wasn't so good. I'm going to spend a luck point, so your score goes from 12 to 11. Oh, that wasn't so great. 11 to 12. And then I'll talk about something called spell burn in a couple minutes. So when the thief rolls a luck die, instead of just adding 1 point, they'll get to roll a die, or 2 or 3 die, depending on how many luck points they spend, and add that to their roll. And thieves can recover luck more quickly than other classes. Other classes, for the most part, have to be awarded luck back. They don't really earn it back, whereas thieves can heal it back on rests. Oh, and the other thing about this, you only heal 1 hit point a night when you're sleeping. And you can Spellburn, I mentioned it a minute ago. Spellburn is something that will drain your other statistics, and you heal 1 point of those a night. So, probably be weeks between adventures. But also that means you can't just take a long rest and be fine. If you're in a dungeon, you're like, you can take a long rest and you'll get spells back and stuff like that if you've lost them for any reasons. But you're not going to heal to full. A cleric might be better off healing you because they've, reset, or they've done a couple things to reset all their disapproval, but you're not just healing, overnight. And then thief skills. You get your thief skills. Picking locks, finding and disabling traps, sneaking silently, hiding in shadows, climbing, forging documents, picking pockets, handling poison, reading languages, etc., and so forth. Okay. And then, you have the DC 5, 10, 15, 20, etc. Okay. First level. You have to purchase these tools. Backstab. So, backstab when attacking a target from behind, or when the target is otherwise unaware, the thief receives the indicated attack bonus to his attack roll, their attack roll. In addition, if they hit, the thief automatically achieves a critical hit, rolling on their crit table. Backstab attempts can only be made against creatures with clear anatomical vulnerabilities, so not against slimes. And then everything, they sneak, they hide. So here we go. Here's table 1-5. So we're looking at the thief at level 1. They get +0 to attack, but they add their dex or their strength as normal. They roll a d20. And when they crit, they reference crit table 2 and they roll a d10. And it's usually modified by luck up or down. They get saves. So there are 3 saves in this game: reflex, fortitude, and willpower. Much like in older editions of D&D, you roll and you add that number to it. I don't think you get to add anything else to it. I can't remember. Let me check. I can't remember. You might add the applicable skill. Okay, something I don't love about the core rulebook is the index is not at the very back of the book. There we go. There's that many pages after the index. It's a little frustrating. What was I looking up? Saves. Saving throws. 20, 94, 110. Let's see. They will actually tell you the page number it's on, however, 5th edition. Saving throws. Okay, so you do add stamina to fortitude, agility to reflex, and personality to willpower. Okay, I thought so. Okay. And then there's, again, stuff based on alignment for what your skill bonuses are. There, I've seen in one of the crawl zines that I showed you earlier. In one of these, let me check which one. I think it's G6. In issue 6, there are rules for buying what you want your skill points to be in. So you don't have to worry about, I'm a lawful thief, so my backstab is +1. Now you can buy them, which I probably would let a player use, unless they're really into this. Which, I mean, you know, they're good. They're good. They're fine. Okay. Yeah, so, and then I'm not going to go through everything they can do. I think we all get what thieves can do. Okay, so warriors. Warriors have D12 hit dice. They're trained in basically everything, weapon-wise. And then they get the deed die, as I was saying. So, for instance, at first level, it's a D3. The warrior rolls this D3 on each attack roll and applies it both to their attack and their damage roll. On one attack, the die may give them +1. On the next, it might be +3. And then it increases with each level. So by the time you're 10th level, let's see what it is. By the time you're 10th level, it's a D10, but you add 4 to it. So very good. I think that means you're always doing your deed. Okay. So prior to any attack roll, a warrior can declare a mighty deed of arms, or for short, a deed. The deed is a dramatic combat maneuver within the scope of the current combat. For example, the warrior may attempt to disarm the enemy, trip the opponent, smash them backwards, shove them, hit them with their shield. The deed does not increase damage, but could have some other combat effect. Tripping them, obviously pushing them back, entangling them, temporarily blinding them, disarming them. The warrior's deed die determines the deed's success. This is the same die used for the warrior's attack and damage. If the deed die is 3 or higher, and the attack lands, you get to do the deed. So you can hit with your attack and your deed fails. You can't miss with the attack and your deed succeed. But, so you have, attack miss, deed miss, attack hit, deed fail, attack hit, deed hit. And then crit warriors have expanded crit ranges, and they just keep getting bigger. And warrior crits are insane, and we'll go through some of them later. And then you add luck to one kind of weapon. So let me go back to my big book and look at the warrior table again. So yeah, by level 10, your crit range is 17 to 20. You're taking 3 attacks a turn. And you're on the highest crit table in the game, and you're rolling 2d20 on the crit table. So let me look at the crit table for warriors. Okay. I'll talk about fumbles in a second. So every class has a different crit table for the most part. Some of them share them. But crit table 1, for instance, you can inflict extra damage. You can inflict a lot of extra damage and permanently damage their stats. They can fall over throwing up. You can reduce their movement speed if you smash their ankles, stuff like that. So crit table 1 is for every 0 level character and wizards. Crit table 2 is for thieves and elves. 3 is for clerics, halflings, low-level warriors, and dwarves. 4 is mid-level warriors and dwarves. And 5 is high-level warriors and dwarves. And you're rolling 2d20 on this table as a high-level warrior. So if you get a 0 or less, which can happen if you have a negative luck score. So if you roll a 1 and you have a -2 luck, you get a -1 on this check. It still hurts the person. It still does a lot of damage and stuff like that, but there is a downside to rolling a 0. And in this case, you do a crap ton of damage, extra damage, but somebody else near you gets hurt by some ricochet. It's not a lot of damage, but it's enough that you're kind of like, oh man, my crit kind of turned out not as cool because, it's all random. But for instance, crit table 5, if you roll a 20H or higher, foe decapitated with a single strike. You are death incarnate. Continue to make attacks against any foes within 10 feet until you miss. So you just become a whirling dervish of death. And if you roll a crit on the big bad guy and roll a 28 or higher, you just instantly kill them. Or you might cut off their arm, inflict a bunch of damage, and they've lost their weapon and arm. So, that's gone. Your judge now has to deal with, well, what does this bad guy respond with? Do they pull out another weapon with their other arm? How do they respond to that? You can cut their legs off. You can like destroy their armor and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different stuff on these crit tables, and it all tells a story. It helps you narrate the combat. It's interesting and cool. Breaking weapons, breaking shields. You can crush someone's skull. It may not instantly kill them, but it's not pretty. And it can kill them if they fail a fort save within 3 rounds. So yeah. So then let's look at fumble chart. The fumble chart. So if you roll a 1, you roll in your fumble chart. For this you want to roll low. So if you roll a 0 or less, I think your luck's you invert your luck. It doesn't matter. 0 or less, you miss wildly, but don't do anything wrong. You trip and fall over, and you're in such a state that you have to use your whole next action to get up. That's if you roll a 5. Your wild swing leaves you off balance. You have penalties to your next attack roll. You fall on your back like a turtle, and because you're carrying a bunch of stuff, you're just kind of stuck there for a minute. So yeah. And if you were using a higher die than a d20, your crit range is still just it's the same ratio. So if you're rolling a d24 and you crit on a 19 or 20, normally you crit on a 23 or 24. So a natural 1 is a fumble. Fumbles automatically miss, and the attack must roll on the table. Because lower is better, the roll is modified by the reverse of the character's luck. So if you have a +1 luck, it's -1 luck. And the type of die you roll is determined by your armor. So if you roll heavy armor, you'll roll a higher die, and what you get might be worse. And if you have light armor or no armor, you're rolling like a d6 or a d4, and it's not going to be that bad. So there are downsides to wearing heavy armor. Oh yeah, no armor is a d4. Light armor is a d8. Heavy armor is a d16. And warriors and dwarves can burn a point of luck to instantly cancel fumble. Still a 1, still misses, but nothing bad happens, which is good because they're probably going to be the ones wearing the heaviest armor. Okay, let's talk about wizards. So magic in this game is terrifying. Let me put a little bookmark in there. Any time you cast a spell, it can go horribly wrong. So this is the kind of thing where it's, like in Onward, the movie Onward, which I love, magic went out of style because, well, it's just easier to learn how to flip a light switch than to cast the light spell. And you have to, study for 15 years under a master. Well, in this universe, you don't cast a light spell because it might damn your soul for all eternity. It's not worth it. Light a torch. So you can do amazing things with magic, but at what cost? You can grow a face on your back. You can get a lobster claw. You can piss off a demon lord who's just mad at you now. So magic's scary. Also, wizard hit points. D4. Yikes. Magic is unknown, dangerous, and inhuman. Even the best wizards occasionally fail to properly harness a spell, with unpredictable results. So I think you will especially dig elves when I get to them. They're all warlocks, basically. Let's see. At first level, you get 4 random spells. And that's years of study. You get 4 random spells. Now, known spells are determined randomly. They may be of any level for which the wizard is eligible. Now, if you get 4 spells and they're crap, you talk to your judge and be like, "Can I switch 2 of these?" And they'll be like, "Yeah." If you get like cantrip, light, Tensor's floating disc. I know that's not in here, but you get 4 spells and you're like, this game is Dungeon Crawl Classics and I didn't get a single attack spell. I'm in trouble. And then you roll 1d20 plus int plus caster level. So a big part of this game is something called patrons. You can cast Patron Bond, and you summon before you a connection to a demon, a devil, a Cthulhu, angels, celestials, ghouls, the king of the Fae, chaos lords, elder gods, alien intelligences, concepts foreign to mortal comprehension, and you make a deal with them. And then later you get the spell Invoke Patron, and you can call on them for help, and it's not going to be good if you don't roll well. And you have to roll, when you cast Patron Bond, you roll a check, and depending on how good you roll, the patron likes you more or less. They kind of resent you because bothering them. So that's kind of, so every wizard is kind of also a warlock. You don't have to take Patron Bond. You may not even get it. But elves, when we get to them, they all get it. It's built in. Wizards may never take a patron, but they might also summon Baba Yaga and invoke a bargain with her. Let's look at what the patrons are in the core rulebook. Oops. So Bug Bub Ills. Bobugbubbles. The demon lord of amphibians. Demands his servants protect frogs, toads, salamanders, spread chaos, and revere the dark swamplands. So you make a check. Bobugbubbles sends a plague of toads. The squishy horde hops onto the scene. Thousands of toads collectively occupy approximately a square of 20 by 20 feet, which can overlap with creatures. The toads attack all enemies of the casters. And then you get a little... I know you'll take a patron soup. And you get little swarm stats. Now, if you displease a patron, you get something called Patron Taint. So, every time the caster casts a spell, the area of effect is filled with a horrid swampland odor. Like a mix of rotting vegetation and fishy overtones. If this result is rolled again, noxious odors keep just at random times. And it's bad enough that people will actually be like, what is that smell? Is that you? If this result is rolled a third time, the caster stinks so badly they are not welcome in polite company. And then there are specific spells, things for spell burn. Patrons typically give you spells. It's the other reason why you take on patrons. If your patron taint has a fishy smell, you should call a doctor. It's very true, Marty. But yeah, so they can give you, in addition to invoking patrons, they give you spells and stuff like that. So, you don't have to ever pick them, but they can be very beneficial. But like everything in this game, it can come at a terrible cost. So let's just look at a random wizard spell. We're going to look at a classic. We're going to look at two classics. As examples. Let's see. Okay, here's Magic Shield. Okay. It's a level 1 spell. Range is touch, casting time and action. The caster conjures up a magical shield that defends him from opponents. You can see the spells typically take up a page or more. Here's Magic Shield. There's a bunch of results. I know that's hard to read, but I will be reading it to you. You can roll a d6 for how it manifests. It might be a disc of shimmering blue force, a yellowish force field, a whirlwind of air around you. And then there's corruption and misfire. So let's say you roll a 1 casting Magic Shield. You lose the spell for the day. You can't cast it anymore. You roll a 1d6, modified by luck. 0 or less, you become corrupted, and there's a misfire. If you roll a 1 to 2 on that d6, you're corrupted, and if you roll a 3 or above, it's a misfire. So if you roll on the corruption, you then have to roll a d8, and you can get either a minor corruption, major corruption, or greater corruption. I'll talk about corruption in a second. And then a misfire. So, for instance, if you roll a 2 for misfire, shield is accidentally summoned to benefit the nearest enemy, granting that enemy a +4 bonus to AC for 1d3 turns. It's not great. Okay. So if you roll a 1. If you roll a 2 to 11 on your spell check, which is d20 plus caster level plus intelligence modifier. 2 to 11, you've lost the spell for the day, and it fails. At a 12 or 13, you get a +2 bonus to AC for 1d6 rounds. 14 to 17, +4 bonus for 2d6 rounds. 18 to 19, +4 bonus for 1d3 turns, which is 10 to 30 minutes. And you can either cast it on yourself or a friend. If you're touching an ally, you can cast a spell on them. 20 to 23, same as above. It also automatically deflects magic missiles now. And then they keep getting better and better. And then if you roll a 32 plus, the caster calls forth a globe of shimmering magical energy that protects them and their allies. The caster is automatically encased in this magical shield, as are all allies within a 10-foot radius. The shimmering globe lasts until the next sunrise and follows the allies even if they leave the caster's side. Each globe has 5 benefits. Provides +8 AC, automatically blocks magic missile, reduces all damage by 2, blocks regular arrows by 20 points, and provides and it helps you counterspell things. Which counterspelling, there's no counterspell spell in this game. You have to think cleverly to counterspell. It's interesting. I think there's a dispel magic which might counter the effect, but you can also respond. I probably won't get into that because there's something else I want to do before my time is up tonight. So that's Magic Shield. So let's talk about Corruption real fast. Okay. So minor corruption. So minor corruption, you might pass out for 1d6 hours. Your hair might turn bone white. It might fall out completely. It might stick out straight, like Doc Brown. You might just constantly have chills for the rest of your life, just kind of shaking the whole time. These are minor corruptions. Character's skin on one random portion of their body appears to melt. This is an ongoing and constant motion that itches constantly and repulses others. And then you roll a d6 to determine where that is. Now, you know, this is there. It's possible you won't get corrupted if you roll a 1, and you can burn luck points to avoid it. But yeah, if you're casting enough spells, this is going to happen at some point. And there's some great art right here, which shows like the evolution of a spellcaster. Like you know, there they are normal, and then they slowly get kind of weirder, and then by the end, that's what they look like. Major corruption. You can get a Voldemort face. Character's tongue forks and nostrils narrow to slits. You can smell with your tongue like a snake, though. Demonic taint. Character's fingers elongate into claws. You gain an attack for it. You can use that. You can get consumption, basically. Your body withers and you lose points to stamina. Your skin can change to a deep blue, clear. These are major corruptions. Greater corruptions. A sliver of soul energy is claimed by a demon lord. Character experiences unearthly pain, suffering 3d6 damage, and a permanent -2 penalty to all ability scores. Small tentacles grow around the character's mouth and ears. The tentacles are maggot-sized at first, but grow at a rate of 1 inch per month to a mature length of 12 inches. Third eye. Roll a d4 for its location. Roll 1d6. Character grows scales across entire body. Character grows gills. Character sprouts feathers. Character grows a beak in place of mouth. It can be a squid beak. You like squids, right? So that's possible to happen if you fail a spell check. Not guaranteed. You can prevent it, but if you play a wizard long enough and you mess with enough stuff, you're probably going to get some level of corruption. Okay. And I said I would read another spell. So let's read another spell. I'm going to do Flaming Hands. Okay. So as before, a 1 is a lost spell. You lose it for the day, you fail, and you have the possibility for corruption, patron taint, and misfire. So 0, you can get a corruption, you can get patron taint or corruption if you have no patron, or misfire. But if you get a 12 to 13, you can a single blast of fire strikes one target within range for 1d3 damage. 14 to 17, it's 1d6 damage. 20 to 23, it's hitting 3 targets at 1d6 plus caster level damage. And so on and so forth. It keeps going up in targets and damage every couple of ones. And then if you roll a 32 plus, character can blast fire in a 360 arc outward from their body. Within that complete radius, they can pick one wedge of 0 to 180 where fire does not blast to protect allies. All creatures within the affected arc out to a range of 40 feet are immolated, taking damage equal to 4d10 plus caster level. And this is a first level spell. So, and at higher levels, yeah, so let's look at like a fireball. Yeah, at Fireball, it doesn't start to succeed until like 16. It can increase the range. It can increase the radius. At high levels, you can be casting 3 fireballs at once. So, I know some people. I've seen some people think, when talking about in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, how wild mage sorcerers aren't weird enough. They aren't wild enough. It doesn't get weird enough. If that is your complaint, use the tables in Dungeon and Crawl Classics. And you don't have to use them one for one, obviously. Some of those corruptions are terrifying, and they might, but you can make them not permanent. You could introduce patron taint. You could have, if the player rolls a 20 on their wild magic check, instead of something bad happening, something good happens, where you kind of look at these examples and, if they were casting Flaming Hands, it does more damage, or the radius, the cone is bigger, it stretches further, it gets an extra goblin or whatever. So you can use this for ideas for that kind of thing. Because I have seen some people who are like, well, mage sorcerers aren't weird enough. I suggest Dungeon Crawl Classics. And a lot of this stuff, again, you can just use this in other role-playing games. You're going to have to adjust it slightly. Like, that damage was low for 5th edition. Like, the fireball does like 3d6. Because at 3rd level, your wizard might have 10 hit points if you're not lucky, Okay. I'm going to try and wrap this up in a bit, but because I want to talk about something else in a part 2. We'll talk about it at the end. That's kind of the basics of spell casting. Going along with wizards, and it'll go along with elves in a second. Dwarves are very similar to warriors, but they specialize in sword and board. Weapon in one hand, shield in the other. They can always use a shield bash attack. It uses a D14 to start. I think it gets bigger eventually. And you can, instead of using the mighty deed of arms with your weapon, you can try and do funky stuff with your shield. Do some Captain America nonsense. Knock people back with your shield. And it does a little extra damage. You're not very fast. You have infravision instead of dark vision. It's infravision, as is classic. And then, kind of underground skills, stereotypical dwarf things. You can smell gold. And I think there is a, and then stuff about languages. And if you're smarter, you know more languages. Okay, elves. I think these elves are kind of cool. And I can show you a character sheet because I played an elf in the demo. His name was Corum. And he cast a lot of flaming hands. And he pissed off the king of Elfland. I'll tell you that story at the end because I thought it was very clever what the judge did. Okay. An elf gets slightly better hit points than a wizard, D6 hit dice, and they're trained in a bunch of weapons, and they will wear mithril armor, which still affects spellcasting, but not as much. They have a sensitivity to iron. They use mithril weapons, mithril armor, and if they are in contact with iron for a long period of time, it does damage to them. It doesn't do a lot. It does 1 HP per day. I think you could amp that up if you wanted to. Infravision, elves are immune to magical sleep and paralysis, just like in 5th edition. Elves are good at finding secret doors. Okay. I love this halfling art. Elves practice arcane magic sustained by traffic with otherworldly creatures. More so than human wizards, they form relationships with specific demi-beings and can directly request aid from beyond. Where a human wizard may cast a spell to summon a demon a few times in their life, an elf may converse repeatedly with the same demon so many times over so many centuries that long-term arrangements become feasible. All elves have one or more extraplanar patron who sustain their magic. As such, their spells tend toward those associated with elemental or demonic powers. Basically, all elves are warlocks. It's very Elric of Melniboné. It's like Elric of Melniboné plus Tolkien elves. But they automatically get patron bond and invoke patron. And classically, you would pick the Queen of the Fairy or the King of the Feywild as your patron. Could pick Cthulhu. Could pick Dagon. Could pick Hecate, the Witch Queen. Or Hecate? I don't know. I don't remember. Baba Yaga, as I said before. You pick a patron, and you form a bond with them over millennia, because that's how long you got. And so, and elves are, they're more like sword mages. So they're good at attacking with weapons and attacking with, and thanks, Marty. My favorite joke is when Marty will type in chat how it's pronounced, but not just spelling it. I love it. So elves are good at fighting with weapons and magic. So they can use magic. Eventually, they can, I think, attack with one action and cast a spell with another, or cast two spells or attack twice. They're sword mages. Now, they don't really have the hit points for it, but you'll just have to be brave. Okay, and finally, we have halflings. And halflings are little luck machines. They're kind of burglary. Let's see. So they get a d6. They get weapons, clubs, crossbows, daggers. Halflings usually wear armor because it's much safer, And by the way, they're hobbits. They're just straight hobbits. Halflings, full stew pot, cozy home, pleasant conversation at tea time. Let's see. Oh, they excel in two-weapon fighting. That's right. And when engaged in two-weapon fighting with matched weapons, a halfling gets a critical hit on a 16, which the other classes don't. Additionally, if dual wielding, they only get a critical miss if both the dies come up as 1. They have infravision, which they don't have in 5e for some reason. 2 to 4 feet. Stealth, quite good at sneaking. A little slower than humans. Halflings are notoriously lucky and gain additional bonuses when expending luck. First, a halfling doubles the bonus of burning luck. For every 1 point, they gain 2 points of luck instead. So if you roll a d20 and you're like, oh, that's not very good. Okay, I'm going to burn a point of luck to raise it from a 13. It would be raised to a 15. Because for 1 point of luck, they get 2 points. A halfling's luck can also rub off on those around them. The halfling can expend luck to aid their allies. The ally in question must be nearby and visible. When burning luck for another character, the halfling acts out of initiative order. So the halfling burns the luck and you get to add to it. And you can recover your luck unlike other classes except for the thief. And something about only one halfling, I probably would ignore that. But they're basically little thieves. Thieves. They're very similar to thieves, but with more focus on the luck. So those are all the classes. Other than that, it's pretty, there's combat. It's D20 based. There's some more interesting stuff in here too that I won't get into tonight. But I got into the kind of the charts. I didn't even get into them too much. But the charts are really what kind of this game is all about. I have a whole book that's just like a reference guide to charts. Have a good night, Cece. But yeah, if anybody has anything they want me to talk about real fast, I can. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap this up. And if you stick around, if you're live on Twitch, I'm recording another episode after this. If you're on YouTube, you can just look up. It'll be a holiday gift episode. So yeah, there's some really cool art in this game. It kind of reminds me of Tasha. Oh, the other thing you can do, wizards can do this. They can spell burn. So they can sacrifice points of strength, agility, or stamina to temporarily enhance spell checks. So it's a 1-for-1, and you recover those points over time, but and certain spells require you to spell burn. So you might have to trade 7 points to get a +7 to the next spell check. Spell check. Yeah, here we go. And then the quick start rules come with an adventure, Portal into the Stars, which is one of the most famous DCC adventures. It's supposed to be very good. I haven't read it yet. Okay. Let me show you. Character sheet. Character sheet. This is a level 2 character. This is the character I played in the demo game. You can see it's pretty small. Base spell check for the elf down here, 20 + 4. That's the intelligence +2, plus caster level 2. 17 hit points, and everything else in here. Here are the spells they had. And yeah, that's their luck. The lucky thing is +2 to secret doors. Nice, simple character sheet. And like I said, one of the things I like about the system is at level 1, your character can do everything they will ever do. It's just they won't be able to do it all great yet. I think that's fun. It's a nice system. Do I think it's ever going to replace 5e? In my games, probably not. But there's a couple interesting settings for it. Some things I'd like to try. I'd love to just run a one-shot with Dungeon Crawl Classics. There's Mutant Crawl Classics, which is a post-apocalyptic version, which I'm really interested in. There's something called X Crawl, which is by Brandon. I think it's Brandon LaSalle, I think, who was, I should know, because he was the person who ran the demo game I played, and it was very fun. But X-Crawl is basically, it's a modern setting where you play as extreme athletes, basically, like American gladiators, and you go through these dungeon adventures, and it's all, your armor can be plastered with advertisements, and so it's kind of a modern spoofy, satirical take on a lot of this stuff, and it seems really fun and cool. And those rules are in beta right now. They were released for Pathfinder, I think, and there are beta rules for Dungeon Crawl Classics on the Goodman Games website. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap this up. I hope this was a decent first look at Dungeon Crawl Classics. If you're interested in this, let me know in the comments below. I can talk about it more. I can have, I can go into more detail about specific things, about spells, about adventures, about Mutant Crawl Classics, maybe. I can go over more in depth the classes, kind of my thoughts on some things. But that was just my first thoughts as I've been going through the game. I played it once. As I said, it's very fun. It's a nice, different Dungeons and Dragons game. I know the rulebook looks scary, but it's really not super complicated. There's certainly parts of it that are different than Dungeons and Dragons, but if you can play 5th edition, you can for sure pick up this game. It's not that different. It's just got a bunch of charts, which Dungeons and Dragons has moved away from, and this game has fully embraced. So yeah. So as I said, if you're watching this on Twitch, which at this point might just be Marty, there's a way to look at who's in chat. All right. Might not even be Marty. I don't even know. There, yeah. Well, oh, here we go. Users in chat. Ah, yeah, maybe not. Well, hello, other people, if you're watching this. Marty's still here, yeah. So if you're watching this, stay tuned. I'm going to stop this recording. You'll see. Just stay tuned. But... Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, so this week, Star Chasers is on Wednesday. It is the final episode of the year. Please check it out. It's going to be a blast. If you missed our Session 0 / Session 1.5 of Odyssey of the Dragon Lords, with myself, Timothy, Marty, Cece, and Liz, GM'd by It's Ramrod Dude Garrett, that just went up on our YouTube. We had a great time. That will become a full campaign in the new year, every other Sunday. And then next week is Star Wars on Monday, and the final Task Force Unlikely, and the final LDI episode of the year on Wednesday. It's going to be a bunch of fun. Come hang out. If you like this video, give it a like. Tell your friends. We got so much stuff on this channel. I hope you can find something you like. Be kind, wear a mask, stay safe. We love you and have a great night. Sorry, just smacked my microphone.